Okay, try not to get alarmed by what I'm about to tell you. We're going to walk through this together. If you're one of 270 million Americans that take some form of medication every day, it's a very good possibility that that medication is made in India. And India cannot make that medication without oil coming from the Persian Gulf. Everybody's talking about the Strait of Hormuz being closed right now. That's all a ton of very valid information, but nobody is talking about what that means for your medication. To be very clear, at the end, I'm going to provide you sources. So hang tight. 99% of pharmaceutical feedstocks and raw ingredients are derived from petroleum. India manufactures 47% of every generic medication fulfilled in America. They have 670 FDA approved pharmaceutical facilities. And India depends on the Gulf region for 40 to 45% of the petroleum bases for those pharmaceuticals. And 3.5 weeks into this conflict, prices for some of those key components are up as much as 64%. Now, you may have heard of the fact that we have a 30 to 60 day buffer of some of these medications sitting in warehouses. And that is true. But what you might not have thought of is that the clock for that 30 and 60 days started on February 28th. The United States currently manufactures 37% of its own pharmaceuticals. In 2002, that number was 87%. We've offshored a lot of that production, and a lot of that production depends on petroleum coming through the Gulf region and petroleum which is transited through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, no one is panicking yet, and you should not panic either, but you should be aware that these prices are increasing. That's going to affect prices and availability, and we need to make sure that we understand why we have to open the Strait of Hormuz. We have to. And I don't mean to infer that you should panic about the supply of medication. That's not the intention of this video. But you should make sure that we're putting on the right pressure to end this conflict, because eventually it's going to get harder and harder, or more expensive and more expensive. These are just some of the stories we talk about on the Ignition News. I hope you'll consider following us here. The working people of this country largely depend on generic medication, and a lot of that generic medication is made overseas in places that are dependent on ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz.